Thank you very much, the Speaker, Right Honorable Femi Gbajabiamila, for your invitation, and of course, my apologies, even on behalf of the Minister, because last week we were at the retreat, hence our inability to honor the invitation last week. But I think I have watched a few of the videos about what transpired last week, and I must say that we're beginning to really address the issue. So I want to thank you for your effort so far in resolving this problem. But I think by way of a short preamble, I need to say that what is happening is a global challenge. Indeed, as I speak, I can say that the global outlook today is darkening due to deepening global slowdown. It is darkening because of a global slowdown, deepening global slowdown. We were at the IMF meetings up to last week before we came back for the retreat. And some of the issues that were being deliberated by all the ministers and the governors of central banks from over 181 countries in the world is about the deepening global slowdown and the challenges that are confronting different economies. We've always thought that we could all work together as a global community, respecting the concept of globalization. But I dare say that today we are increasingly getting into the era of deglobalization, where countries are unfortunately thinking only about themselves. And the issue that we are talking about, whether it's about the airlines, whether it's about the Emirates, whether it's about the United Arab Emirates, is all the same thing about people, countries thinking about themselves. And we should all know that as you think about yourself in a global community, everybody will be in trouble one day. Now, from our meetings, it was very clear that today more than 1/3 of the global economy is in recession. It was also very clear that the global community is facing rising incidence of unemployment. Indeed, most of the countries of the world today are facing stagflation. What is stagflation? Where there are inflationary pressures, inflation is rising, and at the same time, growth is declining. And this is primarily because of some of the price pressures or inflationary pressure that has been forced on other countries as a result of the, I use the word, I don't want to use the harsher word, individual decisions taken by countries because they feel they are thinking about themselves alone. And also, of course, we know about the Russian, the Ukraine crisis, and of course, we also have heard and read about the China slowdown, to the extent that second quarter GDP number of China was a contraction in the negative territory. Those of us who have studied the Chinese economy will know that China is a country that used to grow at above 10% in GDP annually. The second quarter numbers for China was indeed a contraction, which is a negative. They are in the negative territory, and we are praying that this does not continue, because China is a very, very big country, not only in population, but also in global supply chain activities in the world. So, what am I saying? Even though at the meetings last week, global growth has been revised downwards twice, there's a belief that yes, in 2022, global growth will be about 3.2, but there are fears that by the end of the year it will be lower than 3.2. For 2023, global growth is projected at 2.9. But at this meeting, it was very clear that if this crisis of inflationary pressures that is forestalled, that is coming from maybe a set of countries and that is affecting a few other countries, if those pressures continue, if the Russian-Ukraine crisis continues and the slowdown in China continues, that we are expecting in 2023 that the global growth will be less than 1%, which will be disaster. And by that time, certainly, most of the countries in the world will suddenly go into recession. So, what I can only say is that as a result of this year alone, the United States of America having to raise rates. They've raised rates by almost 3.75% in 2022. That has created some very serious inflationary pressures and depreciation on the currencies of other countries. Whereas it's an attempt, the raise rate is an attempt to rein in inflation in the United States. What we've seen is that flows, capital flows that used to flow either by way of borrowing or some form of investments from the advanced economies into the emerging market economies has dried up completely. Not that it has declined, it has dried up completely. So what does that mean? If the Central Bank of Nigeria, for instance, wants dollars to meet the import obligation of Nigerians or Nigerian companies or anybody that wants dollar for an obligation, there are only two sources through which we can get that. Either we earn it or we take a loan. It's either we earn it or we take a loan. But unfortunately, like we all know, earning it has become a problem due to what all of us know is associated with under recovery. And at the same time, taking a loan has become impossible because flows have dried down. So what does that mean to us? That we will have to continue to manage the little that we have until things improve. And I'm sure that we, on this side of government, we are doing everything possible to see what can be done to get things to improve. So I repeat, global financial markets have become very, very difficult. And so, that is why we are where we are today. We are, even from us at the Central Bank of Nigeria, we've resorted to saying that, yes, whereas revenue from crude is not as robust as it used to be, that we will begin to look at other alternative sources. And that is the reason from the Central Bank of Nigeria, since February this year, we introduced the RT200 program, which is a program introduced in order to encourage repatriation of FX proceeds from exporters of non-oil export products. We are gratified that that program is doing very well. When we started it, the first 6 weeks in February and March, we only were able to see repatriation of we paid rebates on repatriation of about $62 million. The second quarter, we saw an astronomical exponential improvement. From $62 million, we saw an increase to $622 million in export proceeds repatriated, non-oil export proceeds repatriated. For the third quarter, we've seen almost close to $1 billion in export proceeds repatriation. Now, coming to the issue of the airlines, before I come back to other issues. Since 2016, we have always accorded priority to the airline sector for them to be able to repatriate their funds. Since 2016. Some of us who are aware then will say, look, FX will only be made available to people who want to import raw materials that are very important. FX will be made available to people who want to import plants and machineries. But in spite of that, we have always taken the airline sector as a priority because it is remittances for what we call invisibles. But even at that, we have accorded the utmost priority to the airline sector. So it therefore, I'm surprised the kind of comment that I hear from IATA, because he knows it as well, that even IATA themselves will have accorded extreme priority in the allocation of foreign exchange to IATA and even the airlines. But the issue, and I'm going to also dwell on that, is the issue of not granting Nigerian airlines opportunity to fly in your country. And I'm going to speak from my own selfish standpoint. when you allow Air Peace or any other Nigerian airline to fly into your country, what Air Peace will do is that Air Peace will charge Naira, just like we also expect foreign airlines to charge Naira. But under BASA, every penny that the foreign airline sells in tickets, it must convert into dollars and take away. But under BASA, Air Peace or any other Nigerian airline charges Naira. It does not come to go to its bank or come to central bank to say it wants dollars. So that Naira sits. The only thing that Air Peace will do, maybe when he wants to pay for insurance, or he wants to buy aircraft, or he wants to maintain his aircraft. So that is why we're insisting that foreign governments where we have G2G agreements must respect BASA. He is just playing to gallery when he says that maybe it will reduce from 700 to, which is the number he's quoting, to whatever it is. I can tell you that that number will be more than half if you give Nigerian airlines opportunity to fly into your country. You cannot be flying 21 landings into Nigeria, and yet a Nigerian airline cannot fly even one into your country. Those airlines, they want to fly into your country, you intimidate them, you use dogs, sniffer dogs, to intimidate them. They cannot land. When they land, you do not allow them to do what is the most important checks for their aircraft to be able to take off and land back again in Nigeria. You are making life difficult for the country, just taking advantage of a country of over 200 million people, a country with the largest population in Africa, the largest economy in Africa. Whether you like it or not, it is the country with the largest market. You have to give Nigeria a chance. You cannot continue to treat Nigerians as if they are just the kind of countries you are talking about in West Africa, Mr. Fatukun. That is wrong. You are a Nigerian yourself. We need to face ourselves and face the fact. You, IATA, you have a responsibility to get Nigerian airlines to fly on the basis of reciprocity. Please. And don't come here to tell us that it is not your business. I can also tell you it's not my business. As after I was not party to the BASA agreement that was signed. But I'm doing everything possible. Everybody is calling on CBN, block funds, and I'm doing everything possible to provide dollar for you to repatriate your money. How can you come here and begin to tell us that you are not party to BASA, for that reason you are not interested in concept of reciprocity, when you know that will benefit your country and our country? That is very unfortunate. Now, I'll go back to the issue of the airlines. I said we are according priority. We are according priority to them, and I'm not going to pretend. In 2016, we went into a recession, and I called all the correspondent banks, including even foreign airlines. I said, listen, guys, we would make sure that you don't lose your money in Nigeria. We will make sure that you get your money. But I can tell you there will be a delay. But you will not lose your money. Please give us a chance. And I can say today, there is nobody, no airline, no foreign investor will say he's lost money in Nigeria today. In 2020, it happened again when we went into recession for 2 quarters. I made the same promise that you will not lose your money. And nobody has lost its money in Nigeria. Will there be a delay? There will be delay for obvious reasons that I have highlighted. There will be delay, but we will pay you. If there is fire in this room and all of us want to rush to the door at the same time, we will all almost die here. But there must be an orderly exit, which is what I've always been preaching. But that does not mean that you will not get your money, and on the basis of that you begin to say that either you are cancelling visa for Nigerians or that you will not fly again because your phones are blocked. Honorable Speaker, yesterday you sent me a text, and I'm sorry you also sent it to other people. Please permit me to read some part of that text. Okay, good. Yeah. The text reads that just confirmed the diplomatic row with Nigeria from a director of my previous company. Okay? So I move forward. They said Emefiele, not even CBN, They said Emefiele did media publicity that they had released $265 million, but till today, they have not seen $1. Right? In addition, there are no Emirates flights after 28 into Nigeria, either Abuja or Lagos. They are not risking their block funds. Honorable Speaker, remember in August you spoke to me. This started, and aside from the prioritization of effects that we have always accorded the airlines, on the 31st of August, you spoke to me, because I have to give you credit for that. You've been doing this. And on that day, which was a Friday, I made a decision that, listen, let's just use our discretion to allocate $265 million to the aircraft, to the airlines, foreign airlines, broken down into spot and forward. Right? We did $110 million in spot, and then the rest in forward, 60-day forwards. On that day, we allocated to IATA $32 million through UBA. Qatar Airways, $22.8 million through Standard Chartered. Emirates, $19.6 million through Access Bank. I can't see this one. 6.6 through UBA. British Airways, 5.5 through GT Bank. Virgin Atlantic, 4.8 through Zenith, and on and on, and all of them. Spot dollars were allocated to them. How then can they go about and begin to say that they have not received their money? This is aside from the so-called 8 or 10% that you say you are getting, Mr. Fatokun. This is extra allocation which we use our own discretion to give to you, and which I have told you personally that we will continue to do so as to make you guys happy, so you don't continue to blackmail this country. That's what I've told you. Out of that, $120 million will be due on 31st of October. The monies will be paid. So what else do you want me to do? If there's, I'm going to confess here, there will be delay. Gentlemen, I can print Naira, even though I've been accused of printing Naira. I can't print dollar. We have to either earn it or borrow it. That's my story, Honorable Speaker. So all these things that they're talking about, it boils down to reciprocity, and IATA cannot shy away from that. Again, please, this actually, I omitted this aspect of it. I want to say that, and humbly say this, that when you are a bank customer, you want to buy foreign exchange, you go to your bank. There is no law that says that central bank must sell dollar to your airline or to you, the airline. When you have money, you go to your bank, you say, dollar bank, I want to repatriate my money, and what happens is that your bank helps you to find the dollar from legitimate sources. So what I'm saying is, your bank first option is to go to the market and find dollar for you, which in our case is the INA window. And that market today has over $150 million daily average transaction. You should go there, approach your bank, they will give you money. And if you can't find, that is when your banks should begin to come to the CBN. But even in spite of that, I'm saying, we are not even minding that. We are coding you priority. And we are even allocating to you. We are using our discretion to allocate foreign exchange to you. You should appreciate that and not be insisting that central bank or government should give you a roadmap. You should be addressing the issue of BASA and not that we should give you a roadmap. Because I'm telling you, what will reduce your obligation is to give Nigerian Airlines a chance to operate and land in your country. That's what I'm saying. Thank you.